Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. Hope you all are doing well. Thought we'd do a little video. This isn't the game review to Everton's fantastic 3-0 win over Bournemouth on Saturday. That is going to be coming tomorrow. What a win it was. What a lovely feeling it was to wake up this morning after Everton have won a game of football at Goodison Park. What a lovely feeling it was yesterday to wake up and just think, oh yeah, we won yesterday. We won 3-0. It was comfortable. We were fine. There was no stress. There was no anxiety. The world was just a much, much better place, as it often is when Everton have won a home game. And I thought we'd be coming into this week with so much more positivity. Obviously, we're in the international break now, so there's no game for a couple of weeks or so. And I thought, great, that's a couple of weeks where Everton can't lose. We've won, a really important game going into the international break. Hopefully, things will be a lot more positive. Things will start to look up a little bit brighter. Everyone will be a little bit happier and we'll be able to all smile and talk about the win, together on Monday night. And then I've read something today that has just grinded my gears a little bit. And I feel like I've got an itch that needs to be scratched. Now, I don't want this video to be negative, and I don't want people to think that I'm coming on here to be negative for the sake of it, or Everton have won a game of football, so I need to put a negative spin on it to try and wind people up. That isn't the case whatsoever. As you all know, I've been a season ticket holder at Everton Football Club for 15 years. I've supported this football club from the moment I entered this earth, and I will support it until the moment I leave this earth, and I want nothing more than for Everton to be absolutely boss, win every week, and I want nothing more than Sean Dyche to be absolutely boss and win every week. Of course I do. However, when I started this channel 5 years ago, I always said to myself, I will never stop myself saying my opinion or telling people what I think because of a certain reason. I'll not sit here and say, oh, I won't say that because that might come across negative, or that might come across like I'm having a go at the manager. If I've got an opinion and I genuinely think my opinion is holds some weight, then I will say it, and regardless of what people may think or may not think. And the reality is, as I said, Saturday was a fantastic win. It really was. It was a brilliant performance. It was a really controlling and comfortable game for Everton. However, there's been something that has been said in the media by Sean Dyche that has left me a little bit frustrated. And as I said, I feel like I've got a bit of an issue. So yeah, what I'm referring to here is the manager has had his press conference after the Bournemouth game. Of course, he has a press conference after every single game, win, draw or lose. And he sits down with the media and he talks about the result, the performance, and, key things that happened in the game. And after the Bournemouth game, he sat down with the press. And one of the things he said in his press conference was, I think the fans have seen signs, and the fans that I speak to, we are not talking about the internet warriors. We are talking about fans who have been here for years. Now, I read that today. Obviously, that was said a couple of days ago in his press conference, and, for whatever reason, it wasn't really picked up on, and it was put on social media today for people to discuss and for people to, give their opinions on. And I read it before, and it really, really frustrated me that by Sean Dyche. It really did, because I think it's disrespectful, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Now, as I've said, a lot of you know my opinion on the manager. A lot of you know my stance on the manager. My stance has been very, very clear. My stance was always, if we do not beat Luton and Bournemouth and get 6 points out of those games, I think the manager should be sacked. We didn't do that. We only got 3 points out of those games. And I still sit here, on Monday evening with the opinion that a properly ran football club who had, an owner for a start, and a board of directors that knew what they were doing, and a plan in place and a structure, would use this international break to move Sean Dyche on because the start of the season hasn't been good enough, and to bring in a new manager. Regardless of how good the win was against Bournemouth, regardless of how good the performance was, the results generally haven't been good enough, and therefore Aston Villa did it with Steven Gerrard, Tottenham did it with Nuno Espirito Santo. Lots of clubs in this position now would say, thank you, we're going to move you on and we're going to go and get this person in for the future. That isn't going to happen, and it's beyond the point of this conversation. That isn't going to happen, but again, you all know my thoughts and my feelings on the manager. However, I also understand that there's some fans that don't feel that way, and I also understand that there's some fans that think that Dyche is the right man for the job, think that, we've been performing relatively well and we've maybe been unlucky to lose some of the games that we've lost, and some fans that believe that the results haven't necessarily been showing the full picture, and therefore the full picture shows a much more complete sort of, position for the manager of him doing a good job at the football club. And that's fine. I've got no issue with any Evertonian, whether or not you want Sean Dyche to be sacked or whether or not you think Sean Dyche is doing a good job. No issue whatsoever. We're all entitled to our own opinions, and we're all Evertonians. You know, I'm an Evertonian who's been going for 15 years. I'm sure there's somebody watching here that's been going for 20 years or been supporting Everton for 30, 40, 50. I might have an opinion. They might have a different one. That's fine. But for the manager to use the term, and I'm not talking about the internet warriors, we are talking about the fans who have been here for years. Although that is out of context, doesn't necessarily mean he's talking about fans that have given him criticism or fans that have wanted him out. The whole statement in itself, I think the fans have seen signs, the fans that I speak to, and we are not talking about the internet warriors. That, for me, says effectively the manager is saying the fans that have seen signs are the real Evertonians that have been here for years and that support this football club. And the fans that have had criticism or have, you know, ultimately not been happy with the results of recent and not been happy with some of the performances and questioned some of the decisions the manager is making, well, they're the keyboard warriors. And firstly, there's no need for Sean Dyche to say that whatsoever. There's absolutely no need for Sean Dyche to say that. He could have gone, brilliant win, you know, finally today we got our reward. We've had a couple of games where we've been close, but we haven't quite finished our chances. We did that today and we were great. To come out and say, oh yeah, the fans that, you know, the real Evertonians have seen this coming and it's the keyboard warriors that, you know, have had the criticism. No, not necessarily, Sean. It's the real Evertonians that have been critical of your managerial decisions and the performances that Everton have been putting in and the results that your Everton team have been, you know, giving us week in, week out. And I'm not saying that the Evertonians that back the manager aren't real Evertonians either. Of course they are. But to say that effectively anybody that's ever critiqued the manager or had a bad word to say or questioned his decisions is a keyboard warrior is, quite frankly, a load of bollocks. And I might come on here and do 6-7 videos a week, and I might tweet on X or post on X, whatever it's called now, and I might be seen as a keyboard warrior. So what, am I now not a real fan? Do I not go to Goodison every single week to watch Everton? Did I not travel all the way up and down the country last year when I could afford to, going and watching us away from home? Have I not been to America and spent multiple thousands of pounds to watch us on a pre-season tour in America? Am I a keyboard warrior just because I've questioned your decisions? Well, let's have a little look at some of the stats. Like I said, I don't want to make this negative, but I just want to prove my point. Before the Bournemouth game, Everton had lost 9 of their last 14 home games against newly promoted sides. Won 3, drawn 2, lost 9. Permanent managers with the worst points per game ratio in EFC history. Rafael Benitez, 1 point per game. Sean Dyche, 1 point per game. Frank Lampard, 0.92. Mike Walker, 0.87. The last time Everton scored at least 2 goals in a game prior to Saturday's win against Bournemouth was against Crystal Palace in October 2022. And that is once in their last 23 home games. A lot of those games, obviously, have been managed by Sean Dyche himself. Everton have lost 4, again, before Bournemouth, Everton have lost 4 consecutive home games by a 1-goal margin for the first time in their history. Everton against Fulham, Wolves and Luton at Goodison, 1 goal, 14 big chances, 1 big chance converted, 0 points. And again, before Bournemouth, Everton had lost 13 of their last 19 home games, including 7 of the last 8. That now is 13 of the last 20, which is still a ridiculously bad record. And obviously it's 7 of the last 9, which is still a ridiculously bad record. And there's other stats I can go into. Everton have not lost a game when they've scored the opening goal under Sean Dyche. I think there's one about Everton not winning a game under Sean Dyche when we've had the most possession, etc, etc. As I said, I've got no issue with those Evertonians that look at those and think, yeah, but what I'm seeing on the pitch is a team that's working hard, creating opportunities, playing well, and it will click. And a lot of those fans will have sat there on Saturday and gone, this is exactly what we're talking about. We could see the remnants and the signs of this happening in the game against Fulham and Wolves and Luton. Unfortunately, it didn't come off. This is what happens when it comes off. Therefore, that's not the manager's fault. As I said, I completely understand that. And who am I to say you're wrong, I'm right? However, who is Sean Dyche to say, oh, you know, if you've not seen these signs, you're a keyboard warrior? No, Sean. No, I'm an Evertonian who lives and breathes this football club and has done from the moment I was born and will do until the moment I pass. And I'm an Evertonian who has been concerned about the fact that Everton had lost 4 out of 4 home games this season prior to Saturday, 3 of them being against teams that we should have beaten. Whether or not we had an 800 XG or we created lots of chances or the signs were there, we still didn't win those games. We still didn't win those games, including being humiliated away from home at Aston Villa, not beating a really, really poor Sheffield United side away from home as well. So, again, I think this week should be a week for positivity, and we are going to get back into the positives because we're going to talk about Everton's win against Bournemouth tomorrow, and we're going to sit there and we're going to smile and we're going to be happy and we're going to talk about how good of a performance it was and how nice it was to see Everton win at Goodison Park. And I will give the manager credit for that performance because he deserves credit for that performance in the same way as I give him credit for the Brentford win and the Villa win. But I'm sorry, I cannot sit there, read a tweet like that from the manager, or, you know, a post from the Echo quoting the manager saying, you know, I think the fans have seen signs, and we're not talking about the internet warriors, we're talking about fans who have been here for years. For me, you've made yourself look a right tit there, if I'm being perfectly honest. And what you've done is you've created an even bigger divide. Now, what we had an opportunity to do now was go into the international break and say, right, we won our last game, we won it comfortably, we were very, very good, we've got some difficult fixtures coming up, let's see what happens with them. As I said, if it was me, I would still move Sean Dyche on now and go and get a better manager in the international break, but I understand that's not going to happen because A, we haven't got an owner, B, there's money struggles, etc, etc, and I'm not tearing my ear out at the thought that Sean Dyche is still going to be the manager, you know, in the next coming weeks and months, and there is a situation in which Everton's results get better, the performances get better, and maybe I sit here one day and say, do you know what, I was wrong about the manager. He was right to have stayed. He's the right man, you know, he's the best man for the job. But saying something like this is just driving a bigger wedge in between the fan base. We need to be united, and this manager talks about being united and being, you know, being together and the football club being so powerful when we're all together and we're all behind the team and we're all behind the players, etc, etc. We're going through a massive transitional period at the moment, on and off the pitch. And quotes like this don't help anything whatsoever. Because even if there was fans that were sat there on Saturday, and I'm not like this, as I said, I've criticised him when I think he's been wrong, and I've given credit when I think he's been right. But even if there was fans that were sitting there thinking, do you know what, I'm not really a big fan of Sean Dyche, but that was a good performance today, we've won there, we've done well, let's see what happens in the next few weeks. I'd have read that quote and gone, what, so I'm not a real fan, I'm an internet warrior because I've questioned your decisions? I'm sorry, but I honestly, I think that's really disrespectful. I think it's really poor from the manager. I think it's really, really poor from somebody of his experience. I think it's really egotistical. Look what I've done. I told you the signs were there. We're actually great. It's not my fault. You know, we were brilliant in all the games. Fulham, Wolves, Luton, Arsenal, Bournemouth. Sorry, Fulham, Wolves, Arsenal, Luton, Bournemouth. We won one of those games. And it was Bournemouth. If you'd have said at the start of the season to any Evertonian, everybody watching, myself, any of us, you were going to win one of those games and you will lose the other 4. And then the manager's going to come out at the end of the 5th game and say, you know, anybody that didn't see the signs is an internet warrior. And the true fans of the football club knew what they were talking about. If I'd have said that to you at the start of the season, you'd have said, well, I won't stand for that, I want him out. Football is about opinions, and if your opinion is Everton have played well this season and have deserved more, and that's not the manager's fault, we haven't got more, and the manager's the right man, that's fine, but nobody can tell me my opinion of being concerned about how many easy games we've lost at Goodison this season and how many easy games we've lost at Goodison since Sean Dyche has been in charge. Nobody can tell me that's wrong or I'm wrong for feeling that, because you know what, that's fine. And when we're playing Championship football next season, I'll say, do you know what, I was wrong, I'm an internet warrior because because I didn't see the signs. Ultimately, as we've said before, it's not about XG, how many chances you created, how many goals you should have scored, how many pasties you should have put in the oven when you got home. It's about the points on the board at the end of the day, and that's a really stupid thing to say from a manager who's won one home game out of his last 5, 4 of them being against teams that we should have wiped the floor with. So, yeah, There you go. There you go. As I said, I had a bit of an itch to scratch, so I just wanted to get that out there. Not being negative, I just think this is a really silly thing for the manager to say. And I think it drives an even bigger wedge in between the fan base. But there you go. Back to positivity tomorrow. We're going to talk about the 3-0 win against Bournemouth. And yeah, we'll all put a smile on our faces and be dead happy about that. But there you go. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Really interested to hear what you have to say. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. That would mean a huge amount to me. And if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you after.